More than 20 years have passed since that black day when the 35th President of the United States paid a visit to Dallas, Texas. Since the death of John Fitzgerald Kennedy, there have been many attempts to bring him back to life. In words and pictures, on the stage, on the screen, so many authorities, his friends, his relatives, his enemies, have told us about the man, the life, the legend. But we've never heard from the final, the ultimate authority, Kennedy himself. We have not heard Kennedy on Kennedy until now.
Yes, I have that. Yes. Yes, I have that. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. Yes, I have that as well. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. Yes, I have that as well.
No, I am not up to date on the fisheries bill for northern Alaska. If it comes up, I'll admit my ignorance with a smile.
You know about Telstar?
Yes, I intend to start with that. Just my opening remarks.
And they're going to ask you about Vietnam.
I never know any more about Vietnam than I know now. My knowledge of the subject is profound. So is my ignorance. What are they going to ask me about taxes?
Well, they'll ask the standard question, what about a tax cut?
I'll give them the standard answer.
There's been speculation about your plans to run for re-election next year. They'll probably ask you about that.
Probably think up an answer.
That about does it on the briefing, Mr. President, and you've got less than 2 minutes.
I'm coming. I'm coming.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
Good morning. I understand that part of today's press conference is being relayed for the first time by Telstar, communication satellite, to viewers across the Atlantic. This is another indication of the extraordinary world in which we live. We are glad to participate in this operation designed by private industry, launched by government in admirable cooperation. Questions? Yes.
Mr. President, would you comment on the reports that you are planning to ask Congress for a $10 billion income tax cut in January?
The question of the tax cut will be discussed in the administration in the next 10 days. Until then, I'll have to withhold. Yes?
Mr. President, the practice of managed news is attributed to your administration. Press Secretary Salinger says he has never had it defined. Would you give us your definition and tell us why you find it necessary to practice it?
You are charging us with something, Miss Craig, and then you're asking me to define what it is you're charging us with. I think that perhaps you might, well, let me just say that we've had very limited success managing the news, if that's what we've been trying to do. Perhaps you might tell us just what it is you object to in our treatment of the news.
Well, I don't believe in managed news at all. I think we ought to get everything we want.
Yes, well, I think you should too, Miss Craig. I'm for that. Yeah.
Sir, Governor Rockefeller, Governor Romney, and Senator Goldwater, none of these gentlemen are willing to admit that they are candidates for the Republican presidential nomination in 1964. I wonder if you would be a little more frank than they about your plans.
Well, if I had to, I would suggest if the party comes to them, then they will answer the call in all three cases, and that's about my position, too. Yes.
Sir, the brother of the president of South Vietnam has said that 15,000 American troops in his country are far too many. Could you comment on that and give us some progress report on what is going on?
Yes, I hope we could, we would withdraw the troops anytime the government of South Vietnam would suggest it. The day after it was suggested, we would have some troops on their way home. That is number one. Number two is we are hopeful that the situation in South Vietnam would permit some withdrawals in any case by the end of the year. I can't possibly make that judgment at the present time. Yes.
Mr. President, you were assassinated on the 22nd of November, 1963 in Dallas, Texas. You were 46 years old. Your death shocked the world. Your administration, your life have become legend.
Yes, Camelot, all that. I was the knight on a white horse to a lot of people for a long time.
My question, sir, is what is your response to the current wave of attacks on the Kennedy legend? Your womanizing, the ongoing influence of your father.
Kennedy, the prime example of hype, hypocrisy, and daddy's dough.
Just how much do you feel your political success stemmed from your own genuine ability, and how much from your father's drive, ambition, influence, and money?
Most importantly, sir, what is your assessment of your record as a president, as a politician, as a man?
My assessment. Well, I think perhaps we ought to leave the assessments to the historians. But I would hope that they would acknowledge growth. I believe I grew as a president, as a politician, as a man. I was the second son of a highly political Boston Irish family. The question of a proper career for me was always something of a family problem. There never was any question about the first son, Joe Jr. We all knew that he would one day sit here in the Oval Office. But as for me, all through my school days, I kept changing my mind about my true destiny. One day I wanted to be a professor of history, the next day a star reporter. I got interested in government. Then I thought maybe I'd go to business school, out on the coast, preferably, where the weather was great and the girls were greater. Then instead of business school, I thought maybe I'd go to law school. As my ambitions would change from day to day, I'd talk each one of them over with my father. Now, some pretty harsh things have been said about my father. It's important for you to know that the most important thing in his life was his family. He was always there for his children, always. He'd say, whatever you want to do is fine with me, with one condition. Whatever you pick, he said, you must be the best. The best lawyer, the best financier, the best journalist, the best professor of history, whatever it is. His constant advice to all of us was be the best. Second doesn't count. I remember one day my brother Bobby announced he was going to become a priest. My father said, okay, it'd be nice to have a pope in the family. One time I asked my dad what he thought about the idea of me going into politics. For the first time, he shook his head. He said, you don't have the temperament for it. Joe was made for politics. He loves following the grandfathers and their political rallies. He loves the crowds and the push and the whole goddamn noisy game. You, Jack, you're too quiet, too shy, too withdrawn. You stick to the books. We grew up in a very strict house, one where there were no free riders. All of us were expected to give our best to whatever we did. We had to be at the table 5 minutes early, or we were punished. There was a strict system of seniority about who would be able to talk while we were eating and who could not. We had to clean up after ourselves. I remember our toothbrushes all lined up like soldiers, all in a row. We were taught to play hard with one another and just as hard against one another. And we were constantly drilled to do our best to win, whether playing touch football or running for office. I remember once my sister Eunice said she was 24 years old before she realized she didn't have to win something every day of her life. We were rich kids, but that fact was never impressed upon us. For one thing, we had small allowances. My brother Bobby even had a paper route to make a little extra money. His allowance was so small. Story goes, he would deliver the papers in the family's chauffeur-driven limousine. Well, it's a good story. As each Kennedy child reached the age of 21, he or she received a share of a $10 million trust fund. Dad always said that he wanted each of us, when we came of age, to be able to look him in the eye, tell him to go to hell. Financially speaking, of course. Now, we always assumed that Joe would go into politics, but I got to wondering about that. Dad always said be the best.